What is going on, Misfits? Good to see you again. Welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. That's right. This is the show where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? What's going on, guys? What's going on? I had a little trouble getting my stream set up. So I was like 1 minute late, but that's okay. We're here. We made it. What is up, Angela, over there on YouTube? She says, I've finally made it in time to watch live. Welcome. You made it. Good to see you. And Joe, if you're out there watching, hello to you too. I know you guys like to watch together on the same screen, so that's cool. Make sure it's like looking blurry. Yeah, we'll get it. There we go. All right. So yeah, we are back. Tonight we're working on we're going to be going over the report card for the Conan RPG. So we've gone through all the deep diving and chapter by chapter, and tonight we're going to give it some grades. That's right, it's going to get some grades. So let's take a look at it and see how it does. So let's start off. The first section we always start with is the character section. So we're going to be looking at the character creation. And if you remember correctly, there are 10 steps to creating a character in the Conan RPG. So first you're going to choose your homeland, then do your attributes, then your casts. It's kind of like your status, I guess. Kind of job status type. It's called your cast. Your story, your archetype, your nature, which is kind of like your personality a little bit, your education. You're going to develop your war story. You're going to do the finishing touches and then the final calculations. Okay. So I'm not going to go over each one of these steps in detail today. You can go back and watch that full episode on creating a character I did last week, I think on Tuesday. And so you can see that there. What I want to point out here is some of the cool stuff that they did in character creation. Let me open up my book here. I can show you a couple things here. One of the things I really enjoyed, no, I don't want to go to this one. I want to go to this one. There we go. We'll get it. All right. One of the things I really enjoyed was the tables in character creation. And you can see they have these little tables every once in a while. And each one of these tables, you can either roll the dice and let kind of fate choose, or you can just pick. But I really like the way that these are done for us in the character creation, that it kind of gives me a choice where I can just roll very quickly, and you can have a character up and going in just minutes because you just roll the dice. Okay, I'm this, roll the dice, I'm this. And I think that sounds like it would be a lot of fun just to literally roll up your character, right? I guess that's where it comes from. And so, yeah, I really like the tables. Another cool thing about character creation is that depending kind of on the different choices that you make or the different roles that you get while creating your character, your stats and your attributes and things are going to increase along the way. So, for example, when choosing your cast, kind of like your station in life or your job or what I was talking about, you're going to pick up a skill associated with that cast. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. Where is it? 19 here. It's right here. So let's say you're a crafter. Well, the cast talents, you're going to get subject and tradesman. So you're going to pick up those two talents and you're going to get the skill of craft, right? If you're a farmer, you're going to get the cast talents of homesteader and subject, and you're going to get the skill animal handling, okay? And so each time you go through these different steps, you're going to pick up new skills and new talents and things like that. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. There was another one I was going to go over too. Oh yeah, like when you pick up your archetype, right? When you choose your archetype, you call it archetype or archetype? I always say archetype because that's kind of how it's spelled, like archer. But some people say archetype, so I can go with that. Let me know. All right, so they have 10 different archetypes for you to choose from. I just said archetypes. What's going on here? How do I say it? I don't even know. All right, when you're doing your archetype, you're going to pick up several more skills and some equipment as well, because you're going to get your career skill from there, your career talent, some other elective skills, and your equipment, depending on what type of archetype that you choose, right? And I like that. It kind of starts building up your character. Your character kind of starts off really weak and at the baseline, right? And then as you start developing your character through the character creation process, it gets stronger and stronger as you go along. And I kind of like that. You got to get to see how your character, kind of is from the start, and then at the end of the creation process, it gets stronger. And it seems cool to me. Now, one thing I didn't like, and I know this is kind of petty. Let me flip back here to the character creation. All right, so this is petty, right? But they don't have like a list of steps at the beginning of the chapter. And I like it when a book tells me, hey, there are 10 steps to creating a character, and here they are. And they just list them out 1 through 10, right? And then they can go through the book giving me the information on each step, right? And I don't know, it just helps me as a reader kind of know where I am in the process, and it kind of tells me what to expect when I'm reading through all these different pages. But as they have it here, like, I'm several pages in, and I'm going, how much longer is this? How many more steps do I have, right? I know it sounds petty, but that's my preference, and I like it when they have a list of steps just right there for the beginning for me. I don't know. So anyways, on character creation, as you can see, they got a 9 out of 10 because it's pretty darn neat. I love those tables. I love rolling on those tables. That's really cool. Really, really nice stuff. Let's go on to the next section, shall we? All right, the customer characters, the character customization. I'll get it out. All right. So when it comes to character customization, Conan, it does a really good job, and it makes sure that your character is going to be different from somebody else's that might be playing the same class, right? Where the bottleneck kind of comes in is with those archetypes. I mean, there's 10 different types to choose from, and if somebody else chooses the same as you, you are going to have some similar skills together, and you just can't avoid that, right? But what is cool though is all the parts in the character creation process that are going to add skills and attributes to your character and make it unique and make your archer, for example, different from your friend's archer, although you still are going to share some things in common. So I honestly felt like the character customization felt like it had pretty much an average score of 7. I felt like that was kind of appropriate, but then I added a point because of that cool character creation process, making the final result of your character feel different enough from the person next to you, even if you pick the same archetype. And so that's why it ended up with an 8 out of 10. Now, let's talk about progression, character progression. So progressing your character, basically leveling up your character in the Conan RPG is almost barely addressed in the book that I could find. There was 2 pages. Let me bring this up. There was 2 pages in the book, page 300 and 301, that talked about experience. Here we go. There's 2 pages in the books that talked about experience, and it was in the GM guide. And basically how it works is you get experience after the session. You'll get experience after the session, and that's going to be awarded by the GM. And you're going to get experience based on, killing things and succeeding at skill test, any type of heroic actions that you took, something really stood out that you did awesome. But there's no real hard and fast rules on what gives you experience and what doesn't. It's really subjective to the GM. I guess I don't have a huge problem with that. I don't know. It seems like they didn't put a lot of thought into it. They do say that the GM will typically give out anywhere from 100 to 300 experience points to each player, depending on how they did for that session. The players can actually spend that experience on the normal stuff, raising your attributes, gaining a skill improvement, or acquiring new talents. And the rest of the book is just, it seems very well thought out for the most part, and it just seems like the character progression could really use a little bit of love, from my opinion. So I had to beat them up a little bit there. They got a 5 out of 10. To me, it was definitely subpar. Unless I missed something. Guys, if I missed something, that happens, right? I'm human. Let me know if I missed something about the experience. But this is all I saw in the book. Let's move along to the next section. So the character section got a 7 out of 10. All right, that's the average of those 3 scores, got a 7 out of 10. Now let's go down to mechanics. All right, the mechanics in the Conan RPG they're fairly easy to learn, but I think they've added, they kind of added an extra layer of complexity that honestly doesn't need to be there. So let me kind of explain what I'm talking about here. Like when you're doing a skill test, you have to first get your target number, and you might remember some of this stuff from the other day. To get your target number, you're going to take your attribute associated with a certain skill, and you're going to add that to your skill expertise, and that's going to give you this target number. Okay, so for example, let's say I'm trying to resist fatigue, and my brawn is 10, and my resist expertise skill is at 2. Then I add them together. 10 plus 2 is 12, right? I can do this. And so I will now need to roll my 2d20s. Typically, you're rolling 2d20s. And I'm going to try to roll a 12 or under on as many dice as I can. So if I'm rolling 2 dice, I'm going to try to roll a 12 or under on both dice. Not combined, but both dice. And each one of those that I roll under 12 is going to give me a success. Okay? So this sounds all easy and good, but that's not it. There's more, right? You still have to figure out how many successes, like how many D12 or D20 dice under 12, right, that I need to roll to win that skill test. And this is where this what they call difficulty comes in, and it's set by the GM. So if something has a difficulty of 1, that means I need 1 success in order to win that skill test. If it has a difficulty of 2, I need 2 successes, which means I would need to roll at least 2 of those D20s need to be a 12 or under for me to win that skill test. I don't know. I mean, I think I understand what they're going for. I think they're trying to come up with some type of way that the skill checks could vary in difficulty. It just seems like it's a little bit overly complicated, kind of a complicated way of doing it, in my opinion. And so for that, I had to ding them a couple points on the ease there. I don't know. It just seems like it was complicated for no reason. They could have come up with a different way to vary skill checks. Either add a modifier, so if it was just like your attribute plus your skill expertise, and then let's say it's dark outside and they're going to penalize you for that. Well, the GM could just give you a negative modifier, right? And so I don't know. You could have done something a little bit more simple to me, anyways. All right. So they got a 6 out of 10 on the ease of mechanics. Now, originality and cool factor, there are a couple cool mechanics in the Conan RPG. So one of these cool mechanics, to me at least, are the momentum points. And these are the points that you get for rolling successes over the amount of the difficulty. So like I said earlier, if you needed 1 difficulty and you rolled 2, then you're going to get one point of momentum, right? And momentum is a pool of points that the entire group, not just you, but the entire player group can pull from whenever they want. And it has this maximum of 6 points that can be saved up in this way. So any points that you get over 6, they're just going to go to waste, right? And I kind of like that there's this low maximum to it, right? Because I think it's going to encourage players to actually use it. I mean, if you had 50 points in there, that just seems like people might not use it as much. But if they're going to go to waste, people might be more apt to use it. Because I'm one of those people I'm bad at using special abilities and like single-use items. I'm one of those people that kind of saves it just in case, and then that time, just in case time, like never comes up, right? I don't know if you're like that or if you know somebody like that, but so I end up like hoarding stuff and never using it, and just because I'm like, I can probably just squeeze by this and not use this ability. But here, where there's this finite amount of these momentum points of 6, that is always being replenished, and also other people in the group are using them, I feel like I would actually use these momentum points, and so I really like it for that reason. So yeah, you can use these momentum points for like increasing damage or adding an additional D20 to your skill check. You can make something more difficult for another player or an NPC, like you can increase the difficulty of their skill check. And I think that kind of sounds like fun. And I just like this idea of this group momentum points. It's an original idea to me, having something that's group oriented that I think people would actually use. So kudos to them for that. So they got a 7 out of 10 for originality. Now we start looking at the depth. Let's get it there. There we go. And I'm not bashing here, but there's honestly not a ton of depth or like advanced mechanics in the Conan RPG, but there is some. Like pretty much you're going to be leveling your attributes, your skills, and gaining talents. And the talents are kind of neat. They're kind of like the carrot a little bit, because they have like almost like a mini skill tree type format to them. And it seems to me like that would keep somebody fairly interested even after playing for a considerable amount of time. And I think like rolling up, trying to role play the different archetypes, different ones, rolling up new characters. Seems like it would give you a lot of playtime as well. And so, really not a whole lot to say here. It's a nice book, not super duper deep like some of them I've seen. So that's why they ended up with an average score of 7 for depth, and that gives them the mechanics overall score of 7. That's not too shabby, right? Now in the narrative, all right. So I feel like I'm going to take some hate on this, all right? But I always try to tell it like it is, and I'm not going to change that, right? I'm just going to, not saying anything bad about Conan itself. I know there's a lot of people that love it out there, but they didn't draw me in at the beginning of the book. And they basically assumed that I was a fan of Conan and that I knew a lot about the backstory and the setting, which I didn't. And I guess most customers that buy this book are going to be, Conan fans, and they're going to know a lot about Conan. But to me, they still have to pull me into the world of the Hyborian Age to get me interested. And I don't care if you're someone that has been reading Conan for years, or you're someone like me that knows very little. The book, an RPG book, still needs to pull me in and pull me into this world and the setting right away and get me excited, because I'm about to do a lot of work reading and creating these characters and all this type of things that go into starting a new RPG. And you've got to get me into that world easy. They do have a chapter about the setting of the Hyborian Age, but it's way back in the back, in the middle or towards the end of the book. And I need something right up front that gets me immediately and gets me immersed into that world right off the bat. And they just didn't have it there, so I dinged them a little bit for it, and they got a 6 out of 10 for the narrative. The story itself is pretty cool, but they just didn't hook me right at the beginning. And I think that's very important for an RPG, right? All right, move along. All right, let's go on to the value section. Now, in content, they got an 8 out of 10, because this book is ginormous, you guys. Let me pull this up here. Am I still a little fuzzy? It looks a little fuzzy to me. It looks a little fuzzy. All right, yeah, the book is ginormous. It's like over 410 pages, all right? 410 pages. It's huge. And it seems to have pretty much all the parts and pieces that it needs to that makes up a good RPG. The character creation section is pretty good. They have a whole chapter on sorcery. They have another one on equipment that's just packed full of items and different weapons and things that's in the world that you can use. They have an adventure ready in the book, which is huge for me. You know that I don't like to jump into a new RPG and have to make up something from scratch, make up my own adventure. Like, give me something to start with, and then I'll create my own, right? But give me something I can just jump into while I'm especially learning stuff, right? And so they do have an adventure in the book. I love that. And I can't really ding them for anything content related besides really just that lack of lore at the very beginning that I needed to pull me in. So they got an 8 out of 10 for that. Still a decent score for their content, right? All right, now let's look at their artwork. And there we go. The artwork in here is super nice. They didn't skimp out on it or anything like that. You can find it all throughout the book. Every couple pages or so, there's some artwork. Some RPGs, you kind of flip open the book and there's like a piece of art like once every 10 or 15, or some of them every 50 or more pages, and they kind of skimp out on it. That's just not enough for me. I need some art. The art needs to tell me information about the world that I'm playing and I'm reading about, right? And it needs to do it in a creative way, and it's interesting, right? And Conan RPG definitely did that for me. They did a really good job of it. The art is very dynamic. The quality is top notch, and it's very interesting stuff. And that usually has something to do with the section that I'm reading, which is another key point that a lot of RPGs you see that just kind of slap art in there. And yeah, it has something to do with the setting, but it's not necessarily is related to what I'm reading. And to me, that's kind of important, that when I'm reading about spells, I can look up and see somebody casting a spell, right? If I'm learning about crafting, I can see somebody doing some crafting. So to me, that's kind of a big deal. And they did that quite a bit in this book. Not every time, but they did that quite a bit. And so they got a 9 out of 10 for their artwork, because it's fantastic, to be honest. Now let's go on to the layout. Move this down here. The layout of the book, it's really well done. The font's nice. The tables, I love tables. The tables are made such that even I can understand them, and that's kind of saying something, right? Because I always get confused on stuff. One of the cool things they did throughout the book, and let me show you this. One of the cool things they did throughout the book is these little brown squares that you'll see every once in a while. You flip through, you'll see some more. And they're not on every page like that, but you'll see these little squares from time to time. And now what a lot of these are, they're kind of like, what would Howard do, is what they say on them, a lot of them. What would Howard do? And Robert Howard is the writer of Conan. And some of them have, like, this one has like a little short caption from the books and from the original stories. And it just kind of tells the reader a little bit more about, you know, the writer and kind of getting into their mind and, you know, kind of reading some of that source material in there and kind of getting, you know, buy-in from the audience. And what I mean by buy-in is kind of like a marketing type term. I know that sucks, but it's a marketing type term called buy-in, meaning the people reading it are kind of learning about something and they're investing their time in it and getting something out of it. In this case, they're getting to know more knowledge, and not really common knowledge, about the writer. And so that kind of gets them invested into the storyline more and the whole product more, right? They did a great job with that. And there's a bunch of them all the way through the book, and I really like that. There's like little tidbits and little story, you know, little pieces of the original Conan stories, which is cool. So yeah, they ended up with an 8 out of 10, which gave them a value of 8 out of 10. I mean, the price is really, really nice in this. I think it was like $50, and very high quality, lots and lots of content for you. So let's move on to the overall score. If we kind of add all these up and average them out, these underlined ones, that's going to give us our overall score, which is a 7 out of 10. And it's exactly 7 out of 10. And overall, the Conan RPG, it's pretty darn solid, right? They made some of the mechanics a little bit overly complicated for my taste, but I still think that you could learn them quickly. That's kind of my only really gripe about this. That and the lack of lore in the very beginning that kind of sucked me in. Just give me a few pages in there. It's really all I need. But I think like after playing for like a half hour or something like that, even the mechanics, I'd probably get used to them very quick and I wouldn't even notice. I wouldn't even think about it anymore. Honestly, Modifius makes, they pick up some pretty quality games, and this is one of them. I mean, it really is. If you're a Conan fan, absolutely go out and get it. No doubt about it. Go pick it up. It looks great on the shelf. Great artwork. Great writing. I didn't find like a lot of stuff out of place. Like a lot of the books that I read, it's been very well edited for the most part, and I think you'll enjoy it. 7 out of 10 is a solid score, and if you're a Conan fan, that could easily go up a point or a point and a half for you if you're a huge Conan fan and like a Conan junkie. You're gonna really like this. Go out and grab it. You can get it at modifius.net. Just do a Google search for Conan RPG, and you'll find it there. That's about it for me tonight. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Share the stream. That always helps out. I like seeing new faces around here. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's always nice, and make a little comment. I've been getting some comments on YouTube, and that always makes me feel so good. I get notified when that happens. So I'm like, hey, what are they saying now? And so I really enjoy seeing that. So thank you guys for making those comments. It makes me feel really good. That's it for me tonight. I will be back on Monday with a brand new RPG. I don't know what it is yet, so tune in and find out. It'll be a surprise for all of us, right? All right. Thank you so much. We will see you all on Monday.